Hi, Steve here. Welcome back to Cryptic Woodworks. So today I'm looking at one of my new cipher wheels. These are a new set that I'm making. I'll have a number of these showing up on my Etsy site that I'll link to out. And these have some new features. So one thing are numbers, so we can now do numeric shift ciphers. There's a symbol for ciphertext that you can use to make more ciphers. And you'll even notice on the English ciphertext there are some other symbols, and those are used because you need to add some extras to make up for the numbers being in there. So since we can make new codes, I wanted to start showing how some of those work. And I thought the easiest one to start out with is a rather easy numeric shift cipher. So I'm going to say we're going to code, a single word here because we don't want this to take forever. So I'll put one word down. And we're going to encode ice cream. I mean, who doesn't like ice cream? Now, if we want to do a numeric shift cipher, what we need to do are actually put the numbers inside of this code. Now you can choose to put them wherever you want. It doesn't really matter. I kind of like to do numbers in cases where I might be repeating a letter. So I might come in here, I'll take off the ice, and then I'm going to put a 2. Say we'll put 2, and then we'll put the rest of the letters back in place. And I might do a second one. I know we have the E repeated, so maybe I'll put the second letter back here, or the second number, excuse me. So maybe I'll put a 1. C-R-E-A-M. So now we have two numbers that we're going to put into this, and as we code this, we'll see how that works. Now, like any normal code, we need to have some sort of a beginning index letter, and this we can choose. A lot of times you would actually, the person who is receiving your code would know some of your indexes, so that way they can go ahead and decode it, or they'll know where to start. And perhaps we'll say that our beginning index is let's choose P. And I'm going to make this a keyword cipher. And I do have another video on keyword ciphers. I'll link to that just in case you haven't seen it or you need a refresher on how those work. So when we're doing a keyword cipher, we write the keyword above our plain text. And in this case, I'm going to use the keyword mouse. Don't ask me why, it just sort of came to me. And it actually fits evenly above all those letters. And you even do the keyword over top of the numbers because we're going to put those into the code and see how they work. So the first thing I do then is I take the M, I set M to P, and I look for I. So I'll set M down here to P down here, and I'll look for the I, and that, in my case, actually corresponds to I, or excuse me, corresponds to L. So I'll make my ciphertext in blue, and then we're still going to be using P, so we'll carry that key over. So we'll set O to P, so I'll come over here, O to P, and we'll look for C, and that's the letter D. So we'll put that in. And we're still using the index P. So we'll set U to P. So I can come over here, look for U. Bring that around to P. And I'll look for E up here, which is the question mark in this case. So we'll put a question mark in. I know it's not a great looking question mark. And we're still using the P. So I'll set S to P, S over here to P, and now I'm going to look for the 2. So the 2 is actually the letter Y, so I'll put that in. Now what the 2 says is that from now on, or at least the person I'm sending this to, I want to, when you see the 2, assume that I just moved my index 2 positions forward. So if my index is P, which is here. If I go 2 forward, that's QR. So my index is now going to be R. So I'm going to change that here. So this is how we're doing the numeric shifting. So now I'm going to set E to R. So E over here to R. And I'm going to look for C, and I'm going to encode that as P. And now I carry this new index of R over. I set M to R. And in my case, I'm looking for R, so excuse me, over here, M to R, and that's W. And I'm still using the index R, so I'll bring that over my code. Set O to R, O to R. And now I look for the letter, or excuse me, the number 1, and actually comes up with the question mark again. And it's perfectly okay to repeat these since we're moving things around. And what this is telling me is just like before where I shifted it 2, in this case I'm going to shift 1 more forward. So instead of R, I'm going to be S now. So my new index is S. So I'm going to set U to S. So U over here to S. And I'll look for E. E corresponds to C. And I'm continuing to use S. So in this case I set uppercase S to lowercase s. And I look for the A, which since we're the same thing, A actually in this case is A. And then finally we carry our index over 1 more. We set E to S. There it is, and we look for M, and that corresponds to the $sign. Get the right color here. So our code would end up looking like L, D, question mark, Y, P, W, question mark, C, A, $sign. Now a lot of times when we're sending a code to someone, we might actually put the first value as the index and sort of just add that into the code. And you know, if the person receiving knows that, then they can just go ahead and translate it or decode it as such. So to decode this, if the person getting my code knows not to start with the first value, so they would put the M, O, U, S, E, and repeat that, M-O-U-S-E. And then they would know that this first letter is the starting code. So they will set M to P. They will look for L, and that will correspond to I. And they will set O to P. So O to P. And they will look for the D on the bottom. That will correspond to C. And we're still using P, so we'll put that in. We'll set U to P. And we'll look for the question mark. Question mark is E. So we're getting there. We're still on the P index. We'll set S to P. We'll come over here, S and P. We'll look for Y, and that's corresponding to 2. So now we've hit our shift. So as the person decoding this, I know, okay, I'm on P, and I'm supposed to shift forward 2. So P, going forward 2 places, a Q, and then R. So I'm going to change to the R. So I'm going to set E to R now instead of E to P. And I'm going to look for P, and that is C. And I'm going to continue to carry that R over. So M to R, is what I would set to. M to R. I look for W on the bottom. That corresponds to R. I carry that R over. Up there's the index, so I set O to R. I look for the question mark. It's corresponding to 1. So again, as the decoder, I know that I'm supposed to shift my index forward 1. So that means the index is now S, because it's RS. So I set U to S. I look for C. That corresponds to E. I bring the index up here again. I set S to S. Obviously we know when we're setting it to the same thing, if I look for A, it's going to be A. And then finally, write the S in one more time as the index. We set E to S. So I have E to S. And I look for the dollar sign. And that is M. So we're back to our original plain text, and I would just know that I'm supposed to ignore the letters in it. Or excuse me, I would ignore the numbers in it. So if I see the numbers, I just take them out, and I'm back to my plain code of ice cream. So it's a nice way to add some new features to your codes. The other thing you could do is you could actually even say, okay, assume 2 and 4 being even are always a positive direction for shifting, while 1 and 3 being odd are a negative direction for shifting. So you could do that. So if I had the 2 here, I would shift from P to QR, but then if I saw the 1, I might go backwards to the Q. So just yet another way that you can really play with the code. So when I do some more, I'll probably start talking about the symbols and how we can actually use keywords to do shifting numeric keywords, which get to be really interesting. So I hope you enjoy this little video and it gives you some new codes to create. Take care.